Welcome back to the channel. If you want to improve your listening and speaking skills in English, then don't scroll away. Take a moment and listen carefully. Because what you're about to hear is not just a business story. This is a real-life journey, a story of struggle, hope, and success. It is one of those real-life inspirational success stories in English that stays in your heart. If you want English listening stories to improve English, this story is for you. Relax, listen slowly, and let the story begin. This is a story of a boy who grew up in pain. A boy who watched his father suffer. He lived in broken apartments with cracked walls and silent nights. He walked through life, feeling invisible, unnoticed, unheard. And yet, he did not stop. One day, he went on to build one of the most loved brands on earth. Not just a coffee shop, but a brand that changed how the world starts its day. And no, he was not born rich. No, he had no powerful connections. No, he did not even found the company he would one day transform forever. This is where the story begins. He was laughed at, rejected, and told again and again, "No one will ever pay $3 for a cup of coffee." He heard no, not once, not 10 times, but 217 times. And still, he didn't stop. He moved forward one step at a time. His name is Howard Schultz. And this is the story of how he turned a painful childhood into a billion-dollar brand. How he transformed coffee into culture. And how rejection became the fuel that made him unstoppable. And yes, while you listen, you are also improving your English. Because we use clear, emotional, beginner-friendly storytelling. Stories that help you learn new words, understand real-life lessons, and become fluent through listening. So, grab your coffee, or grab your dreams. Because this isn't just a story you will remember. This is a story that might change your life. Part 1. The Boy from Brooklyn, 1953. Howard Schultz entered the world in Brooklyn, New York, at a time when dreaming felt like a luxury his family couldn't afford. He grew up in the Bayview housing projects, where life was loud, cramped, and uncertain. Families didn't plan for the future. They survived the week. His father was a delivery driver. No title, no job security, no health insurance, just long hours and tired hands. One icy winter morning, his father slipped, fell, and shattered his hip. That single fall shattered something else, too. There was no doctor rushing in, no compensation check, no safety net. Howard watched his father, once proud and energetic, fade into silence. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The couch became his father's world. Shame filled the room. Bills piled up. Hope drained away. Years later, Howard would say, "That was the moment I learned what it feels like to be invisible, to be treated like a number, not a human being." He was just a boy. But he made a promise that day. "If I ever build a company," he told himself, "people will matter." The family's poverty was constant and humiliating. Howard avoided bringing friends home. There was no private space, no comfort, sometimes not even enough clothes. Poverty wasn't just about money, it was about dignity. "When you grow up poor," Howard said, "it never leaves you. Poverty casts a shadow." That shadow followed him everywhere, but it didn't break him. it hardened him. Howard had no connections, no wealthy relatives, no blueprint for success. What he had was determination. He played sports to escape the streets. He worked odd jobs. He sold newspapers. He saved coins while others spent dollars. Against the odds, he became the first in his family to attend college. It wasn't an Ivy League dream. It was Northern Michigan University, earned through a football scholarship. To survive, he worked nights as a bartender and days as a salesman, learning discipline the hard way. After graduation, Howard joined Xerox, one of America's most respected sales organizations. He thrived. He hit numbers. He earned praise. But something was missing. Success without purpose felt empty. That search led him to a small kitchenware company selling coffee machines to cafes. One day, while reviewing sales reports, he noticed something odd. One tiny client in Seattle kept ordering more machines than anyone else. Curious, Howard flew across the country. The company was called Starbucks. Back then, Starbucks had only 4 stores. No lattes, no cappuccinos, just beans, grinders, and equipment. But there was a feeling in those stores, something human, something warm. Howard felt it immediately. "I didn't just see coffee," he later said. "I saw culture, connection, possibility." He quit his job and joined Starbucks. He wasn't the owner. He wasn't wealthy. He was just an employee with a vision no one else could see. In 1983, Starbucks sent Howard to Milan, Italy for a trade show. That trip changed his life. In Milan, coffee wasn't rushed. Espresso bars were alive. People stood shoulder to shoulder, talking, laughing, arguing, living. Baristas knew names. Coffee was not a drink. It was a ritual. Howard stood there, overwhelmed. This, he thought, is what America is missing. Back in Seattle, he rushed into the Starbucks office, overflowing with excitement. "Let's open coffee bars," he told the founders. "Let people drink coffee here. Let's bring Italian coffee culture to America." The room went quiet. Then came the answer. "No," they said. "That's not who we are." They didn't believe Americans would pay $2 or $3 for coffee. They thought it was risky, unrealistic, too emotional. Howard felt crushed. But deep down, he knew the truth. If they won't do it, he decided, I will. In 1985, Howard left Starbucks and started his own company, Il Giornale, named after an Italian newspaper. Passion fueled him, but money did not. He entered the brutal world of investors, and that's where the mocking began. Howard believed in his idea. He thought others would believe too. But what did he hear? No, again and again. He walked into meetings filled with hope and walked out to closed doors. They laughed. Americans will never pay $3 for coffee. You're not Italian. This will never work here. You're dreaming too big. He was ignored, mocked, humiliated. Howard later said, I was rejected 217 times. That number is burned into my brain. But he didn't stop. Day after day, meeting after meeting, pitch after pitch. Until finally, 30 investors said yes. He raised $400,000, and in 1986, Howard opened his first coffee bar in Seattle. It wasn't just a coffee shop. It was a love letter to Italy. Soft Italian music filled the room. The smell of fresh espresso lingered in the air. Baristas remembered your name. You didn't just buy coffee. You felt something, and people loved it. They didn't care that it was new. They didn't care about the price. They came for the feeling. Il Giornale became an instant success. Howard had proven them wrong. Then, something unexpected happened. The founders of Starbucks, The same people who once said no decided to sell the company. They were ready to move on. Starbucks felt too small to them now. But to Howard, this was everything. He saw an opportunity, a dangerous one. A dream that had once been denied to him was now for sale. Then came the number $3.8 million, almost $10 million in today's money. Howard didn't have it. He was still small, still building. But this wasn't just business. This was personal. This was his dream. So once again, he went back into battle. He spoke to every investor he could find. He pitched. He begged. He even cried. He told them, "This is not just a coffee company. This is my life's purpose." And after weeks of struggle, he did the impossible. In August 1987, at just 34 years old, Howard Schultz bought Starbucks for $3.8 million. And he didn't just buy a company. He bought back his vision. Part 2. The coffee that became a culture. It was 1987. Howard Schultz had just bought Starbucks. But what had he really bought? Not a global brand. Not a profitable company. Not even a proper cafe. Starbucks had only 6 stores. A small roasting plant, a confused identity, a few dozen employees, and one important thing was missing. They didn't even serve coffee to drink. No lattes, no cappuccinos, no frappuccinos, no music. Nothing you recognize today existed yet. Howard was standing at the bottom of a mountain, but he didn't just want to own Starbucks. He wanted to reinvent it. His mission was simple and radical. Starbucks would not just sell coffee, it would sell an experience, a feeling, a place to belong, a third place, not home, not work, but somewhere in between. So Howard got to work. He built Starbucks on 3 principles. First, human connection. Every customer should feel seen, valued, respected. Second, emotional design. Stores should feel warm and welcoming. Soft lights, comfortable spaces, music that calms the mind. Third, personal moments. Every cup should feel like it was made just for you. Names remembered, smiles shared, conversations welcomed. Howard didn't want fast coffee. He wanted ritual, emotion, community, just like he saw in Italy. He obsessed over details other companies ignored. The smell inside the store. Food would never overpower the aroma of coffee. The music. Every store had carefully chosen playlists to match the mood. The seating. Cozy. Never rushed. The counter design. So baristas and customers could talk face to face. The lighting. Always soft, never harsh. The names on cups. So no one felt invisible. And most importantly, the person behind the counter was not just making coffee. They were creating warmth. Howard believed the employees were the heart of Starbucks. He didn't call them workers. He called them partners. Even part-time baristas received healthcare, stock options, training, not just for skill, but for soul. This was revolutionary in America. Howard said, "If we treat our people well, they will treat our customers well, and everything else will take care of itself." In Starbucks, you were never a number. You were a name, a person, a story. In 1987, Starbucks had 6 stores. No national presence. A huge vision. Very little profit. But over the next 5 years, Howard grew Starbucks to 165 stores across cities like Chicago, Vancouver, and New York. This growth was not random. Every location was chosen carefully, every store designed to create community. Howard refused to franchise. Why? Because he wanted to protect the experience. He said, "The feeling cannot be outsourced." Before Starbucks, most Americans didn't know words like espresso, latte, cappuccino, macchiato. Howard taught them patiently, respectfully, slowly. The culture changed. People didn't just say coffee anymore. They said, "Can I get a tall vanilla latte with soy milk?" Starbucks didn't just sell drinks. It educated. It elevated. Howard understood branding deeply. He wanted customers to feel proud holding a Starbucks cup. So the design mattered. Clean logos, green and white colors, high-quality cups. Soon, the cup became a statement. "I'm successful. I have taste. This is my moment." Howard realized a powerful truth. People weren't buying coffee. They were buying a pause, a sense of belonging, a moment of peace. For $3, $4, $5, people didn't just get a drink. They got a seat, soft music, friendly faces, a break from the chaos of life. By the early 1990s, Starbucks was everywhere. Cities, universities, business districts. People went there to read, to write, to meet, to fall in love, to feel human. Starbucks was no longer just a coffee shop. It was culture. Howard wasn't thinking about 100 stores. He was thinking 10,000. In 1992, Starbucks went public. NASDAQ Stock Exchange. Wall Street wanted it. The same man rejected 217 times now led a company the world wanted to own. With fresh capital, expansion exploded. Then, something unexpected happened. In 1994, Starbucks baristas in California experimented with cold blended drinks. Howard tasted it and smiled. "This is brilliant." In 1995, the Frappuccino was born. It became a phenomenon. Then came global expansion. Tokyo, London, Asia, Europe. Starbucks crossed borders, and cultures embraced it. By the late 1990s, thousands of stores, billions in revenue. But success brought pressure. Growth became fast. Too fast. Some stores lost warmth. Some felt corporate. The soul felt thinner. Howard felt uneasy. "I didn't want to build McDonald's," he said. "I wanted to build something meaningful." By 2000, exhausted, Howard stepped down as CEO. Growth continued. Profits rose. But something else grew too. Disconnection. By 2007, the cracks became impossible to ignore. The economy collapsed. Critics questioned the price of coffee. Stores closed. Jobs were cut. Starbucks was in trouble. Howard watched from the sidelines, heartbroken, but not finished. Part 3. The Comeback of a Broken Dream. It is 2008. And Starbucks is in trouble. The world is falling apart. The global economy is collapsing. People are losing jobs. Families are cutting back. Suddenly, $4 coffee no longer feels like a small pleasure. It feels like a luxury. Sales fall. Stores grow quiet. Chairs sit empty. Starbucks, once a symbol of modern life, is now called overpriced, overexpanded, out of touch. The numbers are brutal. In 1 year, the stock crashes from $40 to under $8. Billions of dollars vanish. Stores begin to close. Thousands of jobs disappear. Inside the company, morale collapses. The magic is gone, and from the shadows, one man is watching. Howard Schultz. He is no longer CEO. He stepped down years ago, but he is still chairman. He visits stores quietly, and every visit hurts. Dirty floors, rushed baristas, empty tables. Customers feel invisible. Howard feels it in his chest. "This is not what I built," he whispers to himself. Everything he believed in, connection, emotion, humanity, is fading. Then one day, the phone rings. The board of directors is on the line. "Howard," they say, "we need you back." It is January 2008. Howard Schultz is 54 years old. He steps back in as CEO. But this is not a celebration. This is a rescue mission. He knows the truth. This will be the hardest fight of his life. The economy is broken. The media doubts him. The company is bleeding. And worst of all, the culture is lost. But Howard does not hide. He stands in front of his team with fire in his eyes and says, "We are not in the coffee business serving people. We are in the people business serving coffee. And we forgot that." Then, he makes the hardest decisions. First, he closes 900 stores. Not because they failed financially, but because they failed emotionally. They no longer reflected the soul of Starbucks. Second, he lays off thousands of employees. It breaks his heart. But he knows, if we don't cut now, we may not survive. Third, he stops all new store openings. Growth pauses. Quality returns. Fourth, he cuts his own salary. $1 a year. A message. This is not about me. This is about saving us. Fifth, and most shocking of all, Howard shuts down every Starbucks store in the United States for one full day. 7,000 stores. Millions of dollars lost. But to him, it is worth it. That day, every single barista is retrained, not just in technique, but in pride. Howard says, "We're not just fixing espresso. We're restoring belief." He brings back the basics. Better espresso machines. No more microwaved sandwiches. The smell of coffee returns. More eye contact. More conversation. More care. Stores are redesigned. Not to be faster, but to feel warmer. Real third places again. Then, he looks forward. Free Wi-Fi in every store. Mobile ordering, the Starbucks Rewards app. Technology used, not to replace people, but to serve them better. And Howard goes deeper. Starbucks becomes a force for good. Fair trade coffee. Support for small farmers. Ethical sourcing. Sustainability. Less waste. More inclusion. More veterans hired. More refugees welcomed. Howard says, "Success means nothing if you don't lift others with you." Slowly, something changes. Customers return. Baristas smile again. Trust is rebuilt. By 2010, the comeback is undeniable. Revenue rises. Profits return. Stock prices recover. But more important than numbers, the feeling comes back. The aroma of real coffee. The hum of conversation. The warmth behind the counter. One day, Howard walks into a Starbucks in Brooklyn, not far from where he grew up. He watches a young barista hand a cup to an elderly man. She smiles and says, "This one's on me today, sir. You always brighten our day." Howard smiles and quietly thinks, This is what it was always about. Part 4. The Final Cup. The Legacy of a Dreamer Who Never Quit. It's 2017. Starbucks has come full circle. The crisis is behind it. The doubts are gone. The brand is stronger than ever. more than 25,000 stores around the world, a market value crossing $80 billion, over 300,000 partners wearing green aprons, one of the most recognizable logos on earth, customers in more than 70 countries, a stock price that has multiplied many times since its IPO. The Starbucks app becomes a daily habit, one of the most widely used mobile payment platforms in the United States. In some cities, even used more than Apple Pay. But numbers were never the real victory. The real success is quieter, more human. From students pulling all-nighters to CEOs closing big deals, from Tokyo to Toronto, from Mumbai to Miami. People walk in, say their drink out loud, and feel something rare. They feel noticed. They feel welcomed. They feel like they belong. By now, Howard Schultz is in his early 60s. He still visits stores, quietly, unannounced. Sometimes he sees a single mother working on her laptop, sipping a latte in peace. Sometimes he watches a barista hand a warm cup to a homeless man with dignity and a smile. Sometimes he hears laughter, soft music, the low hum of connection. And he thinks to himself, this is it. Not a product, a place, not a company, a feeling. Howard never wanted to build the biggest coffee company in the world. He wanted to build the most human one. And he did. Let's pause and look at the scale of that dream. In 1987, 6 stores, a few million in revenue, a handful of employees, one country. By 2017, over 25,000 stores, more than $22 billion in annual revenue, over 300,000 employees, presence in 70-plus countries. A company value above $80 billion, all of it built by a man who grew up in public housing, who watched his father get injured, fired, and forgotten. And promised himself he would never build a company where people felt invisible. In 2017, Howard Schultz stepped down as CEO once again, this time by choice. On his own terms, he said, "It's time for the next generation to lead. I'm not leaving. I'm just passing the torch." Leadership moved to Kevin Johnson. Howard remained chairman, still present, still caring, but no longer running the day-to-day grind. And still, he didn't slow down. Howard turned his focus to impact. Human rights, veteran employment, education, opportunity for those left behind. He helped launch programs to hire thousands of military veterans, provide free college education to employees, create jobs for refugees and disadvantaged youth, push for racial and economic equity, because Howard believed something deeply. Profit matters. But people matter more. Few people know where this belief truly came from. It came from pain. His father, Fred Schultz, was a delivery driver. One icy day, he slipped, injured his hip, and lost his job. No compensation, no protection, no dignity. Howard was only 7 years old. But he never forgot the way his father sat at home, broken in body and broken in spirit. That memory became the foundation of Starbucks. So Howard built a company where even a part-time barista could get health care, own stock, get an education, be called a partner, not a worker. In 2019, Howard surprised the world again. He explored a run for president of the United States. Why? Because he believed leadership is service, not power. Though he eventually stepped back from politics, the message was clear. If a poor kid from the projects could build something that touched the world, why not try to heal something even bigger? Today, Howard Schultz is retired from Starbucks, but his legacy lives on, in every name written on a cup, in every smile behind the counter, in every customer who sits quietly and feels a moment of peace. He turned coffee into connection. He turned a commodity into a community. And he proved you can build $1 billion company without losing your soul. So what can you learn from Howard Schultz? 1. Your past does not decide your future. 2. Rejection is not the end. It's the beginning. 3. Lead with your heart, not just your head. 4. Every business is a legacy in motion. 5. Success means nothing if your people feel unseen. Howard once said, "Dream more than others think practical, care more than others think wise, expect more than others think possible, and don't be afraid to be the only one who believes." He believed, and because he did, more than 100 million people walk into Starbucks every single week. Not just for coffee, but for comfort, connection, and a small piece of hope. This is the end of the Starbucks story. But maybe it's the beginning of yours. Maybe you have no money. Maybe no one believes in you. Maybe you feel invisible right now. Remember this. If Howard Schultz could do it, so can you. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for comfort. Don't wait for applause. Start now. Build. Believe. Begin. Because your dream matters. And this story was never just about coffee. It was about life, leadership, love, and legacy. Thank you for listening. Thank you for dreaming. And thank you for believing.